I'm John Palmentary, and we're here in Carpinteria on Linden Avenue, in front of the Seal Fountain. This is Patrick O'Connor, and he's running for the 5th District in Carpinteria in the upcoming election. Patrick, tell me, what was your main reason for running for the 5th District seat here in Carpinteria?
Hi, John. Kathleen and I have lived here for 9 years in Carpinteria. Recently, in the last 3 years, we've been fortunate enough to own one of the iconic properties in downtown area. It's an old 1880s home. The history of that home and the history of the neighborhood and the families is really what motivates me. I've gotten to know quite a bit about, the existing processes around building codes and zoning and community development in general. As an engineer, I think I can bring, decision-making processes and complex problem solving to the council, which is, really the underpinning of a lot of the issues today is the complexity around growth and ability to maintain Carpinteria's character.
Okay. How will you lead the city through the post-pandemic economic recovery?
In one word, I'd say transparency. As I've talked to people in the neighborhood and in the area, there's a universal frustration with the processes that are potentially changing the character of the city. And I think the way to go forward with this is as much transparency as possible. So customer service is another phrase that I would use that I think has room in the city council and the city council staff and the processes to keep people informed and involved in these complex decisions.
In a time of growing community conflicts over possible changes, along with other stresses such as housing costs, what will be your style to resolve these issues and retain unity?
I think the very same thing applies. It's transparency. As I've walked around and spoken with people about the frustrations, one of the consistent themes in there is not having informed decisions. That's not the case every time, but it's certainly a majority of the time that people feel uninformed.
Okay. And what are you most pleased with about Carpinteria as a city that you'd want to continue, something to preserve with laws or fight from losing?
Sure. Well, one thing I'd say, when we moved here 9 years ago, the very first people that we met have become our best friends. Carpinteria is very welcoming. Despite the image of preserve Carpinteria and the passion around that the people have around living here, it's still a very welcoming environment for people to come in and get involved. I think the kind of things that are needed to do that is clear decision making. Decision making that includes the input from the community, is transparent, and offers information that allows a sense of fairness to come across. That the relationship that people tend to have, or what they express, is that they're afraid. They're afraid of what they don't know, or they're afraid of the agencies that are making the decisions. And I think we need to have fair decisions without fear and without favor.
And the biggest change around Carpinteria in recent years has been the Highway 101 freeway project. How do you feel about it so far? What are your thoughts about its impact on the city going forward?
So I was a civil engineer earlier in my career, so I'm thrilled and excited to watch the process unfold. It's really, really a high-tech process to build that freeway along that corridor. Having said that, I think it has affected the charm. It's changed a bit of the character of that drive. That was really one of the signature things about, Carpinteria, Santa Barbara County, is that iconic drive. I think at this point, we'll see what the traffic ends up when it's finished. Of course, it's not done. But I think in the meantime, we've got to focus on restoring a bit of that character with planting trees, and otherwise just the aesthetic of what's left.
Okay, thank you. That's Patrick O'Connor. He's a candidate for the 5th District in Carpinteria coming up in the upcoming election. I'm John Palmentary.
Thank you, John.